So, Alina, what draws you to Russia so much? Why does some young German woman want to spend all her time learning and talking about and spreading information about Russia?
My father is Russian, my mom is German, and all my life I had this feeling inside myself I need to make peace between our countries, because in the last 10 years, I would say, I noticed in the news that there's a big difference in the news in Germany and in Russia, and I decided to change that. So I have now an own Telegram channel with news in Russian and German. I have an own webpage, and I also do some filmmaking.
Interesting. Okay, so what exactly is so different about the German media now from 10 years ago? What changed?
The German news in general changed a lot in the last 10 years, especially when the Ukraine crisis started. They just started not to tell the truth at all. They even started to lie, I would say. I have family also in Crimea, for example, family in St. Petersburg. So I know what was going on there on Crimea, for example, and it was not what the German news were saying.
Okay, so what did the German news media say was happening in the Crimea, and what actually did happen there?
Well, the news in the West say that Crimea was annexed by Mr. Putin himself. But actually, it was a secession, I think is the word in English. Secession.
It's seceded from Ukraine.
Yeah, but actually, Crimea is seceded from Ukraine. And most of the people who live in Crimea really wanted that. I never met a single person in Crimea who didn't want to belong to Russia. Not a single person. And I spent lots of time in Crimea.
Now, I have to ask, were any of your Russian relatives surprised to see you come back home? I mean, there's this stereotype within Russia that everyone wants to leave and everyone wants to go to Europe or Germany where they have these nice welfare checks. So were they surprised to see you, or were they a bit understanding of your position?
Of course, everybody in Russia is asking me that when I'm starting to tell them all my family moved to Russia already, even my mother, who has not a Russian background. Everybody's asking me, well, are you crazy? Because Germany, it's the big dream of everybody here. Yeah, and then I'm starting to explain them that Germany changed in the last years, in the last 10 years, and changed to the bad.
You know, the Russians get accused of being these brilliant propaganda masters, and people like me who write a lot of political material that comes across as pro-Russian can get in trouble for that very stereotype. But the thing is, if Russians are such brilliant propaganda masters, why do all of your relatives think that life in Germany must be 1,000,000 times better than Russia? You know, where's the propaganda mastery? Where is it?
Actually, I would say, or I'm always telling those people, show me please the Russian propaganda. Because actually, if you study the Russian news, they are only telling you what is there. And they always show the sources where they got this information. And the other way around, in German news, you have very often the case that they are just writing Putin is a bad guy. Well, stupid example, but it's really like that. There was a magazine, and at the front was the title "Stop Putin." So, and automatically Germans get the impression that Putin is a bad guy, and everybody's telling you that when you are starting to talk with them about Russia, and then they are saying you, well, Putin is very bad and evil, and Russia is not a good country. And then you are starting to ask, okay, tell me why. And then they are starting to think, actually, I don't know a single reason for that.
Could you please tell us about the film you've been making? What have you been filming?
I lived the last month in Donetsk, so in the Donbass region, and I was making a film together with a German and a Donetsk filmmaker about people living in Donetsk. So very different people, successful people, people from the front who have nothing left, who are suffering, people from other countries. There are, by the way, lots of people from Europe or also from the US who live in Donetsk. And we were just telling their stories. All of these stories were somehow connected to the war. And by telling these stories, the audience knows more about what is really going on in the Donbass region.
Now, were these locals, or were they some ideological fighters who came from somewhere else?
In Donetsk, you have both. You have, for example, I know a guy from Colombia who lives there already for about 15 years. But there are lots of foreigners who came, especially in 2014, to, soldiers who just wanted to fight for the Donbass people because they understood what was going on there really, and they wanted to support them. So there's, for example, Russell Bentley, a guy from the US, or a French guy, Francois, who is now singing in the Philharmonie. Very interesting stories you find in Donetsk, and we were just showing what really is going on there. So no propaganda.
I know this is kind of a big question, but if you could you tell the audience what is really happening behind the lines in the Donbass?
Really going on there, what nobody knows in the West because nobody's showing them, is that this is not evil separatists living in Donbass. This is normal people who have normal lives, family, children, and every day Ukraine is fighting with them, is attacking them every day. I even woke up in the nights because there was a bomb going up somewhere near the front. And every day you are reading that even children are dying from them. And it's always the Ukrainian side who is starting these attacks. It's never the Donbass guys. I've been to the front. I've seen everything. I talked to the soldiers. I know what is going on. And I really can say it's not evil separatists. This is only people who... this is the main problem in the Western news. They didn't tell you that in 2014, nationalists, ultra nationalists, made a governmental, what is a return?
A revolution?
Like a revolution. A coup, yeah, it was a coup. What was going on there in 2014, and now there are nationalists, Ukrainian nationalists, Nazis sitting in the government, and attacking people who speak Russian and even don't speak Ukrainian. And the first law they wanted to impose was to forbid the Russian language. And especially in the eastern part of Ukraine, the Donbass region, all this last years there are most of the people in the Donbass region are Russians or Russian Ukrainians. Well, it was the same people in the Soviet Union, right? So they don't make a difference actually. But lots of them even don't speak Ukrainian. And then they saw, okay, now we have an illegal government who wants to forbid Russian language. Why should we accept that? And so this was the reason why they separated from Ukraine. And then Ukraine started to attack them. And this is not really been told us in the West.
Okay, so your Telegram channel is in German, the language of your birth. Now, how do normal German-speaking people react to the information that you're sharing? What kind of messages do you get? What kind of comments do you get? General sort of broad brush overview, please, if you will.
The reactions are all positive. Lots of people, especially since the beginning of the pandemic, are started to read more alternative news. And I never had a bad commentary where people were saying, well, you're a propagandist or something like that. Everybody's very happy. There are lots of commentaries where people are telling me, wow, I searched so long for some video material right out of Donetsk. It's almost not possible to find good material from right out of the city. So they are very thankful. And yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you have such a passion for the Russian language. You speak it pretty well. So it's kind of surprising, you know, that your father didn't help you at all as a child. Why didn't your father teach you any Russian at all?
My father my father didn't decide to not speak Russian to me. He was just working. So we spoke German most of the time at home with my mother. And after school, I decided that I need to get more information about Russia. I went to St. Petersburg, worked in the Hermitage, for example, and started to learn Russian because I couldn't talk to my own relatives. That was very, very hard.
So what are your plans going forward?
Actually, we are planning to film another serial in Donbass. I'm going back there in a few days and starting away to film a serial. And it will be in German and in English. And will be spread in the alternative news in the internet. I'm going to do an interview with the head of the Donetsk Republic. This is more or less the plans, and I think I'm not going back to Germany, actually.
Wait. Are you hinting that you have no plans to go back to Germany because you're afraid of facing some sort of repression or punishment for what you do? Or is it just that you really love Pilmeni and want to stay?
It's both. I think I shouldn't go back there after I published that what I'm going to film. And actually, I really don't want to go back to Germany. I'm here or in Donetsk for 10 months now. And I don't miss Germany because it's very bad. It's a nice country and good people, but it changed a lot in the last years, and it's not my country anymore somehow.
So as a child, or maybe I should say as a teenager, you felt that Germany was your country, and now it isn't. So what exactly changed?
The Germans themselves changed. Because the media and the politics changed, I would say. Some people would say they were brainwashed. Because if you look back 10 years ago, we had critical films, critical documentaries in the television who were criticizing the government, for example, or some other topics, and now you can't find that anymore. But everybody's writing the same. We have 5 big media houses in Germany, and all newspapers or channels belong to one of these big 5 houses, and they are by themselves somehow connected to the government. So. And when it's natural, if you hear everywhere the same story, you start to believe that, and this is what happened with the Germans in the last 10 years, and so, they all are anti-Russian now, and this hurts.
And so does that mean that in Russia you feel some sort of great intellectual freedom or something? Is that what you're getting at?
Actually, I started to be active in the Green Party in Germany about 8 years ago. And then when the Ukraine crisis started, I went to Crimea and so on, and came back and started to talk with my colleagues at the party. I noticed how anti-Russian they are really thinking, and it's not possible to convince them. Even if you're saying, well, I just came from Russia, I came from Crimea, I'm telling you it's like that, and not like that what you heard in the news. They don't believe it. I can't understand that, but it's what happened with this country, and this got even worse in the last 8 years. It's not possible to argue or to convince somebody if they are all like believing what they are seeing in the news.
Okay, so you have more. So you have more intellectual freedom in Russia. That's awesome. I agree with that fact, by the way. But what are some of the minuses or drawbacks of living in Russia as a German?
This is a good question. Actually, Germans are always punctual. Russians not always. And what is really annoying me is the fact that in Germany you can say to somebody, okay, we are going to meet in 2 weeks at that and that time, at that place, and this guy is turning up there. Yeah. And in Russia, it happens lots of times that you have the people tell you, I don't know yet. Let's talk in the morning and let's see how it goes at the day. And if 3 people are telling you the same, you'd never know when you have to be where. You can't make your own plans, and then you miss something because at that minute you are at the wrong place when this other guy got free. It's very, this is hard for me as a German. You can find me when you type in Google my name, Alina Lipp. There are also some interviews in English. My Telegram channel and webpage are called Neues aus Russland. It's called News from Russia, practically. And I would like to say to you that we are all the same. We are all people. We all go to the toilet. It's not important if we speak English or Russian or German and it's all the politicians who are doing these wars and this not great stuff which is going on right now. But actually we should all think about the fact that we are all the same and we all want peace. We want to live with our families in peace, and this is what I would like to say.